Welcome to the Let's Talk BS podcast. I'm Bryan.
And I'm Sofia, and we're coming to you live from the
757.
Good morning, Bryan.
Hey, good morning, Sofia. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good today.
That's good. It's Friday, right?
It's Friday.
Yeah. It's crazy. September is over, right? After this weekend.
I know.
I feel like this month has flown by. I mean, we've officially been ushered into the fall weather. I mean, it's been a very dreary week, I would say. I mean, every day it just seems like the sun hasn't came out yet at all this whole week.
That's true.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. I like this time of the year, but I just still like to see the sun a little bit, at least when during the middle of the day.
Yeah, I was talking to my neighbor yesterday, and she was saying that she likes winter.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is as cold as I like for it to get. I don't want it to get any colder than this.
For
but
real?
I want the sun to come out.
For real? It's not even, I mean, it's still like 70 every day. It's like 65,
yeah, but in the morning
degrees.
It's more chilly on the chilly side. And
especially with the
it
sun,
reminds me of like California weather. Like it's chilly in the morning. It gets hot during the day, so you can still, do your thing. And then at night, you can still sit out by the fire pit type of situation.
Gotcha.
That's my ideal weather.
Gotcha. I like it a little bit colder than this. I like it like 55, 60 degrees, probably like another 10 degrees lower than what it is now.
Oh, yeah, that's
like
too cold. 55, you need a jacket. You need a coat.
Yeah, a light jacket. Even a light jacket to 55. Nothing crazy. It's like a little jacket, maybe hoodie. What they say, hoodie season.
Yeah, that's why. Listen, I'm in hoodie.
You got a hoodie right now.
That's why it's perfect season for me. I feel like at 55, you almost need a coat.
You almost need a coat. You teetered that line.
You teetered the line.
Yeah.
You might not need it during the day, but you definitely need it in the morning.
Correct.
100%. So how did y'all do last week during the storm?
It was good. I mean, just like how it normally is, I felt like there was a lot of hype, a lot of like, oh man, be careful, whatever. And then, I mean, literally, I know Friday night, it was pretty windy. I heard the trees kind of, going back and forth and swaying a little bit. But then like by Saturday morning around like 10 o'clock in the morning, I mean, it was sunny outside. Like it was.
Was it?
Yeah.
Nah, it was Monday. Sunday it was sunny.
Nah, Saturday it got
the sun came out, but it still was like
true. It
raining and drizzly
it was
all
off and
day.
on raining.
Sunday was when it kind of like
that's true. Yeah, Sunday it acted like it was like nothing had ever happened. Yeah,
right.
Like Saturday was still signs of what had happened, but it was still, put it this way, I guess for me, I was expecting for it to last longer than what it did. Like, I mean, Saturday by...
I mean, usually hurricanes don't last that long. They do their damage in a day, and the day out.
Yeah. Well, it depends. I mean, it just depends on the storm. I mean, sometimes storm lasts, I would say, a day or two. Sometimes it lasts less, so,
Okay.
But yeah, as far as the storm goes, I mean, we just chilled in the house for real. I mean, watched a lot of Netflix TV. Was watching Love Is Blind. It's a show that Brooke and I, we've kind of been watching. My buddy Los put us on to it. Probably was maybe a year or 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been watching that. And so a new season just dropped. I want to say it was this past weekend. So we kind of got locked into that for a little bit. And then I just watched football, just kicked it for real. And then, yeah, that was it. What about you? What about you guys?
So on Friday night, I was like, okay, well, if it's going to be a storm, let me at least go get bottled water just in case, Because I got a generator, but my husband's gone or was gone at that time on the ship. So I was like, shit, I don't know how to hook the generator up, and I'm not going out there to figure it out.
Hey, look, I don't know how to hook a generator up.
Yeah,
I mean, I probably would be able to figure it out.
But I would have had to go get gas because they take gas.
Yeah.
So I would have had to go get gas, and then the generator can't be too close to the house, and you got to figure out how to do. I was like, I'm not doing any of that, and I'm pretty sure I got neighbors that would jump in and help out. It's because it's military people all in my neighborhood, so they understand the dynamic of when somebody's left alone or whatever.
Correct.
But listen, I was like, let me go get some water at minimum. I always got candles. That's not an issue. Yeah. And then just some more perishable food, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Just to get you through for the couple days or whatever. And that night, we just watched Elemental all together in my bed.
Oh yeah.
And
that how was that? My I remember when the movie came out.
Yeah.
I was gonna go see it with the kids but it also came out right around when Little Mermaid came out too, and Spider-Man. So remember we ended up seeing both of those and didn't get back to the movies to see them. How was it?
It's a good movie.
Okay.
It's a love story.
Okay.
I mean, all Disney movies are love stories,
Absolutely.
so it ain't nothing new.
Yeah.
But it also talks about like elements, like at a kid level.
That's cool.
You know what I mean?
That's cool.
So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was cool. The kids liked it.
Okay.
Yeah, they loved it a lot. And then after that, a couple of them fell asleep in the bed. And then once it got really late, I started kicking them out. Okay, it's time. It's time to go to your room. So, and then on Saturday, we pretty much just chilled on Saturday because it was still kind of misty, rainy, and stuff like that. And at that point, I had kind of just straightened my hair. So I was like, no, I'm not going out in the rain. Then on Sunday, we actually went to the Norfolk State and South Carolina volleyball game at Norfolk State. And so,
okay.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. My high schooler was able to watch the girls play at a college level. And let me tell you, it was this girl on Norfolk State's team, number 8. She is so good.
She is, okay.
Yeah, and she keeps like this straight face. You know how like
she locked in.
Listen, you know when you
what my man
when you score,
I'm focused, man.
Yeah, when you score a point, usually when you're in some athletic type of sport,
you celebrate.
You celebrate.
Yeah,
when I tell you this girl straight face, she'll make it and be like, "All right, next." like it was nothing.
Yeah, they say,
and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, she ain't gonna smile. She ain't gonna embrace it. She not gonna even like jump up. Nothing. It was nothing. She just was like, okay, it's time for the next play."
Yeah, I remember in college, my college coach. I played football for folks who don't know in college, and my college coach would say, act like you've been here before, right? Because when we would score, do something, make a nice play, us, guys or just in general, we would celebrate. We was happy, excited, we would try to let it out. Yeah. But our coach was really like militant, and he was like, hey man, act like you've been here before. You know what I'm saying? So
what's funny? So watching her play, I've been on social media, and there's this football clip. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about, but it's a clip of this football player. He breaks through and he's running for a touchdown. He's probably like at the 15-yard line from the touchdown, and he starts slowing down. Right before he gets to the touchdown, he drops the ball, so it never dropped, and his foot never got into the end zone in the touchdown zone. And so everybody was looking like, what? And the other team picked the ball up because at that point now it's a fumble. And then runs and scores a touchdown. And so everybody in the crowd was just like, you celebrated way too early.
Yeah, prematurely. You celebrate too early, man.
He threw the ball down before he actually got to the touchdown. It was crazy. I was like, oh my God, like that's got to be embarrassing.
It's got to be real embarrassing.
Like I can't even imagine having to show up to practice the next day or whenever they practice the next time. And your coach, not only your coach, because usually in football you got whatever your specialty is, you got that coach, but then you got an overall head coach.
Correct.
I couldn't even, I would not show up. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'd be like, you know what? I need a day for them to think about this.
Yeah, because you got to think about it. That's a wide range of difference of what's going on. So you're literally scoring a touchdown and you're celebrating.
Yep.
And then you're going from that jubilant feeling, and then now you've technically fumbled.
Yep.
And I don't know if they picked it up in that video. I've seen a couple of those videos.
Yeah, they picked it up.
I don't know if they picked up and actually scored on the other end.
They did. I think so.
Oh, okay. So then,
I'm
now
pretty sure they did.
That's a 14-point swing. So you're literally going to score to get 6 or 7 points for your team, and now you never actually scored, and then now the other team picked the ball up and scored. Like that's a huge swing. So yeah, that's
and the reason why the other team ended up scoring was because nobody actually paid attention to the fact that he fumbled.
He
know what I mean? He didn't pass the line. Yeah. So the other team picked up the ball and started running.
Yeah.
And then they didn't really catch on, because all the players, you know how it go, people start walking off and doing stuff.
Yeah.
So he was able to just run it all the way back.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah, but that's pretty much all I did all weekend. I didn't really do much. And then, work stuff.
Question though, I know obviously Norfolk State, shout out to Norfolk State. That's one of our local HBCUs here. You said they played South Carolina State, right? So question, I've never been to a collegiate volleyball match before. So I know like at the football, the basketball games, they have like the band and the cheerleaders and stuff like that. So at volleyball, I know it's a little bit smaller. It's not as much attention towards it. Like, did they have like cheerleaders there or like anything?
So,
like,
so from what I was told, at this particular game, no, they did not have any cheerleaders. Okay. But I guess because of the team that they were playing, the cheerleaders weren't there.
Oh, okay.
But from my understanding on how I understand how Norfolk State works, I can't say any of the other college people. When they play like a big, like for example, if they were playing Hampton, yes, they would.
Okay.
That's the way I took it.
Okay.
Is how it was explained to me.
That's what's up. Yeah.
But the gym was packed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was packed. Apparently, Norfolk State has this thing where they all support each other. So like, ROTC was there, football players were there, and then I guess when it's time for ROTC to have something special, or when the football games go on, everybody goes to their games as well. So it's like something that they have to do. They have to come and support your fellow teammates. But even if you don't play on the same type of sport.
Yeah, I remember when I
was
at
super packed. Like
I remember when I was at VMI playing football there. We had to do the same thing. So on the football team, because football was the biggest event on campus, and so anytime we had a game, I mean, everyone went, right? Every sport. Was,
pretty much everybody goes to football games.
Yeah. So then, like, our coach was big on, like you said, supporting the other, sports. They call them brats.
Yeah.
Supporting the other brats. And so we would go to, like, football players. We had to go to the basketball games. We had to go to the volleyball games and all that stuff as well, baseball and everything.
Correct.
So, yeah, that's what's up. That's
okay.
Cool. I didn't know they were still doing that, so that's dope.
Yeah. So it was funny because they had a DJ.
Okay.
Kind of like our basketball tournament.
Oh, word. Okay.
Yeah, it was a DJ in there, and it was funny because every time, like, they would shank the ball or do things that didn't score them a point.
Yeah.
They would like play these like little sounds.
Yeah. Like these like downer sounds. Yeah.
And then
yeah.
And then during like timeouts and stuff like that, they would play your more modern dance songs, and so you would see like all the not little, but all these big ass football players. Like doing all the little TikTok dances with each other. That was funny.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was really funny. I enjoyed myself, and so did Maya. She was excited.
You think she's is she like wanting to play volleyball on the collegiate level? Like, I know it's really early. She has a while to.
Yeah, she does, and she's been actually talking about going to HBCU. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fire. Yeah, that's dope. Yeah.
Because at first her goal was Harvard.
Yeah.
And she was
you
like,
mentioned that to me before.
Yeah. And she was just like, I'll do my grad school at Harvard. And do my undergrad at HBCU.
Yeah. Go to undergrad, HBCU.
Yeah. That's
cool.
what she says. So we'll see. When we get there.
That's what's up. Yeah, got a little ways to go.
We still got like 4 years.
Yeah, that's what's up.
I told her, you better get them grades right.
Yeah.
Make sure, well, not get them right. Her grades are pretty good, but keep them.
Yeah, keep them. Yeah.
Yeah, keep them right. But yeah, outside of that, I think I started doing my continuing education because I got some stuff due at the end of October.
Yep. Me too.
You do too.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, you carry more licenses than I do.
Yeah. Yeah. I gotta. I think one of my license, I gotta finish it by the end of October. So yeah, I started to do some of it as well. So I should be hopefully done here very soon. That's something I wanted to knock out. Normally I procrastinate and wait and do those things at the very, very last second. So I'm trying to be a little bit better, maybe a month before they're due versus like the last day. It's progress. Progress.
Yeah, that would stress me the hell out.
I hear you. But yeah, also this past week, Monday I played golf with my dad. That was pretty cool. We went to.
You ain't playing about this golf thing.
Nah, I'm not. It's I told you, it's not even it's an addiction I got right now.
That's crazy.
It's because I'm really competitive, and as I got older, it's like.
You're too old to play football, so you're like, let me go find this old person sport. No, I'm just playing.
Golf. Golf is just something that it doesn't do as much damage to your body as some of the other sports that and also you can kind of, I really need is want yourself to play too. You know what I mean? It's always good to have somebody to play with, though. Makes it a better time, but it's something that you can go out there and actually play yourself. But yeah, Monday, me and my dad went out and played at Virginia Beach Nationals, a really, really nice golf course out here, one of the better ones here locally. And we had a good time. We ended up playing with 2 other guys. So they said that the course, Monday was a really, really busy day because of the storm that happened over the weekend. So a lot of folks, play on the weekend. So they were like, hey, a lot of folks, weren't able to play on Saturday, and so they ended up playing on Monday. So me and my dad were playing, and they ended up lumping us with this other two guys, and they were pretty cool, man. One guy was from Louisiana, the other guy was from Alabama, so they was old country bumpkins. And me, I was being from Virginia, but originally from North Carolina. My dad is originally from North Carolina as well. We was able to kind of talk the same language. We were talking about some different foods and stuff, and just kind of kicking it or whatever. And one of the guys, was retired, and so my dad, he's getting ready to retire here by the end of this month, coming up in October. So they were kind of talking that same language about what they're looking to do. And my dad, he's picked up the pickleball as a sport. He goes twice a week, he said, and so they were talking about that. So it was pretty cool. So golfing, I did that.
I've never seen pickleball before, y'all. Never.
For real? Yeah.
I've seen the rackets. I've seen the courts that they play on.
You never seen the people actually
the signs, but I've never seen a game of pickleball.
Yeah, I've seen it on YouTube and social media, but I've never actually seen it in person myself.
What is it?
Well, actually, no, I take that back.
It seems like it's similar to what, racquetball or like
Yeah, it's ping pong.
Tennis.
Yeah,
ping
so it's
pong.
kind of a combination. Okay. I would say of ping pong and tennis because it's like ping pong. Yeah, it's table tennis. It's on a table. Versus, pickleball is actually on a tennis court, right? But just the lines that you play are different from the lines that you play on tennis because it's a little bit more concentrated as far as like the game. Tennis court's a lot bigger, but the lines that you operate in.
But the ball is like a ping pong ball?
No. The ball is like almost like a wiffle ball.
What that is.
Wiffle ball is? Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That might be a Midwest thing that you don't know. Wiffle ball. Growing up, we used to always play, baseball. You never played baseball where it's not. So when you were young, did you play baseball without a real baseball? Like it's like a plastic ball that have holes in it.
Yeah.
It's called that's a wiffle ball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of very similar to that kind of ball.
I never played baseball with that, but I know what you're talking. It's hard, right? It's like plastic hard. With the holes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a ball kind of similar to that, but yeah.
I can't remember what I played with that ball before, but it was something in gym class. They used to use that when we were in elementary school. Gotcha.
Yeah, we played. We used to play baseball with it. Like, we had the bases and, you underhand pitch it and hit it. But yeah. So my dad's been playing that. He's trying to get me to come out there and play. So we'll see. I actually got invited to play tennis with a couple of real estate agents this Sunday morning. So we'll see if that comes to fruition or not. They said that they've been playing pretty recently, and I've played tennis for a while. So I'm eager to see kind of where I'm at because I haven't played in a little bit. So, but yeah, that was Monday, and then I did a site visit yesterday on one of my projects that I got going. It's coming along very, very well. I'm very pleased with the progress of it. Hopefully, it should be done by Thanksgiving, so we're about, I would say, a little less than 2 months out.
Okay. When you putting it on the market?
That's a good question. I was thinking about typically I put my properties on the market around 45 days out from being completed.
Yeah.
Just so, because I do a lot of new construction, so I can allow the person, if I get it under contract or they are interested in purchasing the house, they can kind of maybe pick out some of the finishes that are within budget.
Yeah.
So like some of the, flooring and colors of paints and, things of that nature.
Yeah.
And so that kind of still leaves that time for them to be able to do that. So I'm looking at probably in about 2 to 3 weeks. I would say mid to late August. Not August, but October. So that was pretty cool. And then also I had this really big deal that I was working on, and it kind of went south, and not really for me as far as like anything that I did, but it was just kind of the buyer and not being upfront with a lot of information and everything. And it was a pretty significant purchase. It was over $800,000, so it was close to $1 million home out in Suffolk. And so I was able to have them work with another loan officer at another company, and they're actually closing today. So I'm excited about that. I was texting the buyer. He was like, "Hey man," he's like, "I know I didn't get to end up closing with you. He was like, but I'm gonna have you come to the housewarming party, man. He's like, without you, this wouldn't have happened. So he was really
Yeah,
appreciative.
you definitely got to show up to that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely go to that one. Yeah. He's Caribbean too, so I know they're gonna have some good food. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it happens. You know, you always gotta. We talked about that last week. You always gotta be upfront and truthful because,
correct.
you know, I can only help you if you tell me. I tell my daughter that all the time. Don't let me go into anything blind.
Yeah.
Tell me so I can fight for you. I can't fight for you when I'm hearing information for the first time because then now I'm looking at you like, well, why didn't you tell me that?
That's a fact.
I tell my kids that all the time. I can only fight for you when I know everything.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah, you can't have me looking crazy.
That's a fact. Did you have anything else going on this past week? That was pretty much my week's end of the month. So, I had a couple of closings this week. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I had a closing this week. Yeah, I had a closing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so I had a closing. Yeah, I believe I did. I had a closing where I had to pretty much save a deal.
Yeah, maybe you told me that one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was pretty much it.
Okay.
This week. Yeah, this week was kind of light.
Yeah.
And I was happy for it because, when you're doing your continuing education and your phone keep ringing, it's hard to get through it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we always like to start you guys off with exercise your knowledge. So today we are going to be asking you a mortgage-related question, and we want you to think on it. Let it sit in the back of your mind, and then later on we're going to reveal the answer in the segment. So today's exercise your knowledge question is, who typically pays for the service of a realtor, and is there a set cost? If you've been listening to us, if you've been following us, we've mentioned this multiple times, but we're testing your knowledge.
Yeah, we've been kind of talked about it last week. I remember
we touched on it.
Yeah, we touched on it a little bit last week. So yeah,
exactly.
If you were locked in and listening, you should know the answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right, guys. So topic of the day.
Yep. So topic of the day today, we're going to discuss the acronym ARV. Right. I think in our mortgage and real estate world, man, there's a whole bunch of acronyms.
Oh.
There's you could literally have a conversation and just have it all with acronyms. You don't even have to have full words. You could say, oh, this and that, the GFE, the LE, the CD, all this and that. Literally, there's so many different acronyms.
Yes.
And so one that
the only loan product that ain't got an acronym is conventional.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every other loan product it has
VA,
acronyms.
FHA, USDA. Everything. All the loan ones. But ARV. That's the one that we're gonna kind of talk on and touch on today. I feel like a lot of folks have probably heard the term. Most folks, I would think, that's in the space would know what it means, but we just want to make sure that everyone has a full understanding. So ARV stands for after repair value. Mm-hmm. Simple as that. After repair value. So give an example of what an ARV is, right? So, you can have a property that may need some work, right? Maybe it's a little outdated. Maybe you've owned it for, let's say, 10 years. And so there's going to be a value of that property right now, right? Current market value of that property in that condition. Because remember, we've talked on this before as well, what determines the value of your home is the sales, the comparable sales that are similar to the home that you have. So, the size as far as the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the square footage, and then also the condition of the home, right? So if you have a home that has the same, square footage, bedrooms, bath, but one home is newly renovated and one home is outdated, then the home that's newly renovated is going to have a higher value, right?
Correct.
Because of that, right? There's going to be more demand, or there's more money that's put into it, recently, that's going to allow that value to be just a little bit higher, even if it's the same size. So the after repair value, what that is the after repair value is saying, okay, hey, once these repairs are completed, this is the value of your home, right? And a lot of times when you have an investor who's looking at a potential opportunity or a potential investment as far as a flip or a new construction, that ARV is a very, very, very important part of evaluating that deal, right? Because the ARV is essentially what you're going to sell that property for, if that's the goal as far as selling it, or if you're like refinancing out of it, depending on what the situation is. So knowing what that ARV is and knowing how to calculate it is very, very important. So like I mentioned, ARV is very simple. It's let's say if you're doing an investment and you are buying a home for $200,000, and then let's say you get with a contractor, and the contractor says, hey, it's going to cost you about $50,000 to fix this home up, right? To kind of make it up to modern standard, up to, what somebody would want as far as purchasing and living in the home. You're going to want to know, okay, hey, after these repairs are done, what could I realistically sell the home for? And what you can sell it for is what the value is, right? That ARV, right? So what you do is you look at the comparable sales that are in that area within about a mile, typically, is what it is, depending on, the area. If it's like a rural area, sometimes it lets you stretch it out a little bit further. But, like here in the, Hampton Roads area, or just in, major cities, I mean, typically there's enough comparable sales within a mile, of that home, that subject property. So once you look at that, then you're able to see, okay, hey, this is how much the home is going to be worth after those repairs are done. So you'll actually know.
And you want to look at time frame too.
Correct.
You want to make sure that not only are you looking within the mile, but you also want to look within the last 6 months or a year.
Correct. Yeah.
Because a home that sold 2 years ago may not have the same value as a home that sold within the last 6 months.
Correct.
So that's important as well.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, you gotta be tapped in, because I would say the last couple of years, the market has been very, very choppy, right? And they call it very, very volatile, right? And so, I mean, you can I would say normal common knowledge is a year, right?
Yeah.
But houses that sold a year ago, the market is totally different from what it was a year ago.
Correct.
So I would even say, right now, I mean, you really want to look at the last 6 months, to be honest with you, because that's kind of more of a truer indication of what's going on.
That's correct.
Because I'll give an example. I got a buddy of mine who I've actually done some deals with before as far as investing. He's a Class A builder. And so, he had a property that he listed for sale. This was probably 2 months ago. And when he bought it, he bought the piece of land, built a brand new house on it, and he looked at the comparable sales, and the comparable sales were right around about $495,000, $500,000, but those were for houses that were right around 2,400 square feet, right? And the house that he built was 2,700 square feet. So he knew, in his mind, kind of looking at the data, that he should be able to sell his house for a little bit more than those houses that are very similar but just a little bit smaller, right? So he had listed his house at $525,000, right? So kind of based on the square footage, that makes sense, right?
Yep.
But we're in a shifting market, and the market has shifted tremendously. That because of where interest rates are right now, the type of buyer who's going to buy a house at $525,000 is totally different from a buyer who's going to buy a house maybe in the upper $400,000.
That's
right.
Correct.
And so the type of buyer that was going to buy his house was actually more of a buyer who's going to buy a house within the $475,000 to $490,000 price point. Because even though that's not a huge difference between, let's say, $475,000 and $525,000, the type of buyer who's going to buy that house in this market, it's a big difference.
Correct.
And so, we were having a conversation, we were talking, and he was like, hey, man, I'm having, difficulty selling this property. It's in a good location. It's a nice house. I'm getting a lot of good feedback, but nobody's really I'm not understanding why it's not moving. And so he did a price reduction down to $515,000, and then he had some activity on it, but nobody wanted to offer, on the home.
Yeah.
And so I was having a conversation with him, and I was like, hey, man, and he didn't understand this at first, but when we had a conversation, it really made sense to him. I was like, hey, the market that we're in, man, the type of buyer who's going to buy that house, they're not a 500 plus buyer, man. I was like, I think you need to drop that price down to maybe around $485,000, and I think that you'll end up getting it under contract. And my man literally put the house on dropped it down immediately, which was a big reduction, right? I mean, you're talking about another $30,000 in reduction. And literally he did that the next day he got under contract.
Yeah.
And then that's just, like I said, it's one of those things where, it's the market is ever shifting. So just being understanding, and we kind of see that, like I always say, on the front end, because we're the ones that's pre-approving buyers. So we kind of understand what type of buyers are and what they're willing to do, right?
Correct.
And so, yeah.
Because now buyers are looking at the payment.
Correct.
Ultimately.
Yeah.
So, when you look at that $500,000 buyer, most of the time, that's not really someone who is in need to buy. They're
Correct.
just buying because either they're looking to upgrade or maybe they're moving new to the area, right?
Job.
They probably are experienced buyers. I don't get too many first-time home buyers that's buying a $500,000 house.
That's correct. Yeah.
Do you?
No,
Yeah.
Not many, no.
So they're more experienced. And so what that does is that they're looking at the payment. Yeah. They're looking at, okay, if I buy this house at $500,000, $550,000, what's my payment going to be?
Correct.
And so if that payment is outside of their budget, then a person who is used to purchasing homes, they're not going to be what you call house poor.
Correct.
Where you're, spending all of your money on your mortgage payment.
Correct.
They're going to really dig a little bit deeper and figure out how can they make their budget work with the type of house. And so
Correct.
what they'll do is they will themselves say, okay, well, I'm going to buy at this $400 and something $1,000 price range, because that's what makes sense, because they're experienced homeowners.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
So I can understand why, that person had to reduce their purchase price. That makes sense. Yeah. The houses that sold in that area a year ago, when rates were 4-5%, mm-hmm. compared to now, rates are like 7%. We almost in 8%.
Yeah, almost. We there.
Yeah, we there. Depending on the product, yes, we are there.
Yeah.
It's a huge difference in your payment. So you just have to be aware of the type of people that you're attracting to the house.
Correct. And I think about that a lot. See, me as an investor, I was always taught a rule of thumb, like when I'm evaluating a deal, because I'm always thinking about how I'm going to exit the deal, right? So I'm always going to think about, am I going to, for this particular situation, am I going to buy this property to try to sell it? Or am I going to buy this property to try to keep it and put a renter in there, right?
Yep.
And so, for example, that, like as I mentioned when we were explaining what the ARV is, how the ARV really plays a factor in as an investor is that, a lot of times when we're doing these projects, there's things that come up that's unaccounted for that we just don't know, right? And also there's a cost for your time and your effort that you're putting into a situation, right? So typically as an investor, there's maybe a certain amount of money that you want to make every time that you actually, put your funds out there, put your time and your efforts and energy into an investment. So a lot of times what we'll do is when we look at an investment opportunities I mentioned to you as far as like the acquisition price, then adding in what the renovation costs are going to be, and then looking at that ARV, we want to make sure that acquisition cost and also those construction costs are no more than about 70% of the ARV, right? And the true ARV, right? Not what you hope to sell it for, or not like, hey, you see 4 or 5 comps that say one thing, but you see this one outlier comp up here, so you're going to base everything off this outlier comp. You got to be real with yourself. And a lot of investors that I know that are kind of new to investing, they'll look at the ARV, they'll kind of try to find or try to make the ARV something that is really not, right? They'll try to look at it like, hey, even though these comps are speaking this one, I see 3 comps that say this, but this one or these 2 over here say this, so I'm going to, base everything off of that, and then they get disappointed when they try to put their house on the market. It actually sells for much less than, what they initially thought the ARV is. So just, kind of really being, I would say objective about it, not really like, trying to say, hey, I'm trying to sell it for the max or whatever. You're kind of going to be somewhere in that middle range of what those comparable sales are, or at least base everything off of that. And then if you sell it for more, that's just icing on the cake. That's a win. If you sell it for a little bit less, if you did all the work up front, I would say, or just all the due diligence up front, there's enough room for you to still make a sizable amount of money if you base everything off kind of that 70% philosophy.
Yeah.
So,
exactly. And then in some cases, if you use hard money lenders, they want the ARV to be, they want the maximum purchase price or the ARV to be about 65%.
Correct.
So you just have to make sure that you account for, any potential losses, anything that would unexpected.
Unexpected expenses. We call them change orders. Anything that comes up, especially when you're dealing with new construction. You'll have
them too.
Much.
You might have issues with material costs.
Or even plumbing. That's something that I'm dealing with now, like a sewer. Things that you really don't know until you're kind of actually actively trying to get a building permit.
But all of it is kind of like an unknown type of situation. But in new construction, it's just a different type of unknown.
Correct. Yeah. But and I found it a lot easier with new construction than than rehabs or flips, like you said, because you're pretty much dealing with the same things over and over again, give or take a few variables. When you're dealing with the rehab, I mean, there's stuff behind walls, there's things that you just under the house. I mean, there's things that you just don't know until you actually open it up and rip it open. So, and a lot of times you can't open up those houses and rip them open until you've actually purchased it. So, you kind of have to.
And it's only so much that a home inspector can see.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
Because I had my duplex, I had one side renovated before I put it back out there for a renter to get in there. And one of the things that I did was I gutted the bathroom. And behind like the shower tub area where the tile was, there was like a whole lot of cement. And so that was one of the things that took a long time because the contractor had to basically, like old school, take a sledge and like hammer it out. You know what I mean? And that takes time, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, there's no other way to get cement out than to break it.
Yeah.
And so that was something that was unexpected. You know, who knew? Who thought? Who would think that there would be like
this big cement wall or cement,
you know, there, you know. So I'm glad that now it's taken care of. And I ended up putting in one of those like fitted tubs, so I don't have to worry about like grout and all those other concerns. But you can definitely have unexpected things or unexpected costs that come up, and you always just want to make sure you account for that.
Yeah.
But we definitely wanted to talk about ARV because now we're in this market where interest rates are high, and so maybe purchasing a house that needs some type of rehab may be the move for you.
Yeah.
So if you buy a house, you know, at $100,000 to $150,000, and you know you do the renovations, and your value comes out to be about $270,000, I mean, you're winning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So just making sure that when you do, or if you decide to purchase something that it needs work, that you understand, you know, how to calculate that value, because you never want to overspend for a property and then later you can't sell it and at least make back what you put into the home. Yeah,
and that's just a way to kind of combat the, like you said, the rate environment that we're in, right? You know, typically when you're buying a house, you're buying it at its market value, right? So you're buying it at the top of the market of where it could be sold for at that particular time, right? And a lot of times people, when you buy a house, you want to buy a house that's move-in ready, you know, it's less stress, less...
It is less stress.
Just less things that you have to account for when it comes to buying a house, right? But there's ways to, as far as combating the interest rates where we are and the price and the monthly payments, if you buy a house that needs a little bit of work and fix it up, right, then you can get, you know, a house that if you would have bought it not brand new, but bought it at, you know, when it was already fixed up at, you know, $250,000, like Sophia mentioned, you know, you could buy a house at $150,000, put $40,000 into it, and your loan now is based off of, you know, $190,000, $200,000 versus
but your value is higher.
Yeah, but your value is the exact same as if you would have bought that home with it already fixed up at $250,000, right? And so your payment is going to be based off of what you owe on the home, right? So that's kind of a way to, you know, kind of circumvent, you know, the higher rate environment that way. And those are some of the conversations we were having with some of our like first time home buyers, you know, just kind of being able to look at things in that way to be able to still purchase your home and have that equity start for you, but just kind of maybe go about it in a little bit of a different way.
Yeah. So, and I mean, to play the game, you also have to have money.
Yeah.
So let's not forget that portion of it, because definitely. I know that there's a lot of first-time home buyers that listen to the podcast, and this may or may not apply to you, unfortunately, because I do find that a lot of my first-time home buyers, you know, we're struggling with even closing costs. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you are looking to invest into yourself, you have to expect that in this particular situation that you're going to be making a down payment. Yeah. Even if you're a first-time home buyer. Yep. You're going to be making a down payment. It may not be a big down payment. It may not be 20%. Yeah. But you're going to put down at least 3.5%. But in return, I mean, you're potentially walking into equity. Yeah. No, you will. If you do a 203K loan, I mean, you're in most cases, unless you're buying the house, you know, pretty close to or overpaying, I would say, for the house. Correct. Because you're going to get sweat equity when it comes to the rehab on it. I mean, that's just what it is. Yeah. So you just got to make sure that you acquire
that house for an amount, because if there's work that needs to be done to the house, then you should be able to get it at a discount.
Exactly.
So yeah. I mean, that's something that's huge, man. And I also wanted to touch on, kind of switching gears a little bit. The question, kind of, we mentioned rates, and rates is kind of like a hot topic. Because where they are, and where they've been. Everyone keeps asking me, like, hey man, when is rates gonna get lower? Hey, when is rates? I actually had a conversation last night. I got this guy who's PCSing from I think he's in Cali. I think he's in either San Diego or somewhere in Cali. But him and his wife are coming here, and so we were looking at he was actually looking at a house to put an offer in on last night. And then we were having that exact same conversation. We were talking about like where interest rates are and what the monthly payment would be. And he was like, hey, dang, man. He's like, that's close to what I'm paying up here in Cali. As far as what is, as far as, because he's staying, his BAH, I think, is a certain amount. And once we were looking at everything, I mean, it wasn't exact, but he was thinking, because he's coming from California, it would be so much less here. And it is a lot less for what he's going to pay, but it's actually closer because of where rates are right now. You know what I'm saying? So we were having that conversation. He was like, dang, man, I was thinking I was going to,
his BAH going to be less. Exactly. That I can guarantee.
Exactly. So yeah, we were, and then plus in his situation, his wife doesn't work. So, it's kind of all on, his income. And so we were just kind of having that conversation and talking about, hey, what, potentially refinancing later, once rates get lower, and like when that would be, and what I think it would look like or whatever. And so, a lot of times what we see is like, we have a presidential election getting ready to come up.
We do.
And I really believe that it's I think rates, if it doesn't happen before the actual election itself, I do think shortly after the election, we're going to start seeing a considerable change in interest rates for the better. Typically, that's how it happens if you look at it historically. Especially, we've had a Democrat in office for the last 4 years. A lot of people haven't been happy with where things are economically with what's been going on over the last couple of years. And so a lot of people think that there'll be a Republican, to get office, come 2024. So, Republicans are known for, really focusing on economics and the economy and where we are and trying to better things. And so I do feel like that's probably what's going to happen. And so I think you'll start seeing a change around that time, So I was having those conversations like, hey, I'm just saying, if you're able to afford, if you can't afford this, let's look at something lower. Even though I'm pre-approving you for this amount, if you can't afford this, within your budget, let's look at something lower. But if you can afford it, and this is the house you absolutely want, if you can hold off for like a year and a half, maybe, I think around that time we'll be looking at a better situation where you can just refinance, and then, hey, you've already secured your home. You've already been used to be paying at a certain amount. So once we refinance it, your payment's lower, and then now you can save, a significant amount of money, and you still have that home that you really, really want. So.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about refinance, and we've been talking about the potential to refinance for a year and a half now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And there has been so many different predictions that are out there as to when this is going to happen. And unfortunately, we are in a space of the unknown. We didn't expect for a pandemic to come. We didn't expect for rates to get as low as 1%. We didn't expect for the government to give stimulus checks to everybody and, pay all these different costs and give so much money into the community and give business owners these different grants and loans. And so now you got to expect the unexpected still,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you do. And right now we do want rates to come down. We hope that when if the Republicans get back in office, that the rates will come back down. But we just don't know.
Correct.
We don't know what that looks like. And and this is just my personal opinion. I feel like, the government gave so much money during the pandemic they collected right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The people, working people are paying that money back. We're in a deficit where the government's about to shut down due to, not being able to budget correctly.
Correct. Yeah.
So they have to figure out a way to make some of that money back. And the way to do that is what? Raise the interest rates.
Yeah.
increase the cost.
Yeah, increase the cost.
Make people pay more for goods and services.
Yep.
And who benefits from that?
Yeah.
Not us, not you and I.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's just my take on it until we kind of get back to where we were pre-pandemic. I mean, I think rates are going to pretty much stay, where they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
That's my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong, but
yeah, I agree. I do agree. I do agree with you on that for sure.
Now, I don't know. I was traveling like last month. What was it? In August, and I sat next to a guy. He was an older white guy, and he was really, really nice. But he asked me if I was a Democratic or a Republican. It was hilarious. I had never. Like, I've had people ask me that before, and not to the extent of, like, not knowing me at all.
And that's
like,
pretty bold from a man to ask you that. A lot of times I know that's taboo a lot. I mean, I know obviously we're in the social media, era, but I remember growing up, that was like one of the things my mama and my dad said.
You couldn't even talk about that at work.
Don't talk about your religion.
Yep.
Don't talk about
politics.
Your politics views. But now social media, you got people just throwing it all on social media, so you know exactly what people believe, how they view things or whatnot. So I'm surprised. I guess I can't even say I'm surprised because, I mean...
You're not surprised, but you're surprised, right? Exactly. Because I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised, too. It was kind of like, well, how did we get here? Like, what did I say that sparked you to ask me that question? Like, it was kind of odd. But all in all, I mean, he still was pretty cool.
Yeah.
His take on things was just, old.
Yeah, old school.
Old school. You could tell he was definitely old school.
Yeah.
My man's was talking about how he paid cash for a Corvette or some type of car that he wanted, and I just was like, yeah, the typical American can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's just start there.
Yeah.
But I hope that you guys learned a lot when it comes to the ARV. If you have more questions, you definitely could reach out to us personally. But this is something that investors typically use to gauge the worth of a property. So I think that if you are an investor or if you're looking at becoming an investor, at least you could start by using Google.
Or YouTube.
To kind of find out, what that calculation looks like, how to break it down. If you have any other questions, you could reach out to us as well.
Absolutely.
So earlier in the segment, we asked you guys a mortgage-related question, and we wanted you guys to think about it. We talked about this previously last week, and we've actually discussed this in the past. But today's Exercise Your Knowledge question was, who typically pays for the service of a realtor, and is there a set cost? Drum roll.
Drum roll.
Boom, 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 boom.
You had the answer. You want to do the answer on that one?
Sure.
Okay.
So typically, the person who pays for the cost of a real estate agent is the seller.
Yep.
That is the typical person who does it. Are they required to? No. A buyer can pay for their own cost of their real estate agent. But typically, it's the seller. The seller's going to pay for both the listing agent and the buyer's agent. Depending on what part of the United States you live in, that cost may be different. Here in Hampton Roads, the typical split is 3% for each agent. Yeah. But you may find that if you live in California, because the houses there cost a lot more than here, their commissions are maybe like 1.5% to 2 or 3%. Yeah. So these costs can be negotiated. There's nothing set in stone. You can speak to your real estate agent to negotiate, the cost that you pay them. You, if you want to, can even list your house yourself. We don't recommend that, but everything is a choice. Yeah. The only thing that you cannot do is negotiate cost of the lending side. Yeah. Yeah. You could shop, but you really can't negotiate. Yeah. I've had people try to treat me like a car salesman, they're like, so what can you do for me? Yeah. Like nothing. Yeah. Yeah. The price is the price.
Exactly. Set it and forget it. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking though when you said just now, as far as like even them trying to, a seller trying to sell the house themselves, speaking on those acronyms we talked about earlier, like FSBO, for sale by owner, just kind of thinking about that. But yeah, it's crazy. Like there's this is the normal, like you said here, is 3% for both sides, right? So normally you have, the listing agent will have a meeting with the seller and kind of go over what the expectations are as far as cost. And I've seen most listing agents kind of say, hey, a seller, you're going to probably pay anywhere between about 9 to 10%, right? You're going to pay 3% for your for them to list your house, right? 3% for the buyer's agent who brings the buyer to your house. An additional 3% in some cases as far as paying for closing costs for yourself and then also for the buyer. And then that 1% as well just for any type of like repairs or anything that could come up as well.
Correct.
So that's kind of normally the norms. Like that 9 to 10% is kind of what the seller typically needs to be prepared for when it comes to, selling their house. But it's even crazier is that you have listing agents out here, even though 3% on the both sides is the norm, you have an agent who's trying to get a listing from a seller. They'll say, hey, look, I'll go ahead and put your house out here on the market, and what I'll do is I'll charge you 3% for me to sell it, right? And then I'll put out there that whoever brings the buyer to your house only going to get 2%. So that means that instead of being 6% between both agents, it's 5%, and that's just more money in your pocket. And that's a selling tactic, which really, man, if you think about it, is not really fair. You know what I'm saying?
No.
I don't think that that's really good business, but you do have some agents out here who do actually do that. And like you said, there's no set amount really, but it is kind of just like a good practice to, for it to be even, when it comes to however it is. Or even if there's a situation where there's not enough equity for you to sell the house for both of the agents to get 3%, if you're going to reduce the buyer's agent that's bringing the buyer to the house because they're important, just like you are important to sell the house, then it should be even, right? So instead of like, hey, you get 3% or I get 3%, you get 2%, then reducing both down to 2.5%, right? It still equals that 5%, and everyone, is on the same wavelength when it comes to the cost and how much they're making off of that situation. So, it's just something that I've seen that I just felt I wanted to mention to you that is like a little thing that folks are doing to try to secure listings. And, I don't think it's really right. Just want to put it out there.
No, it's not right. Yeah. That's one thing about real estate. There's always a gray area.
Yeah.
And people like to walk that fine line.
Yeah.
Until they get caught.
Yeah.
And I think that as more things come to light, obviously, we live in a world where when things happen, then rules are set.
Yeah.
And so once they get caught and there's a new law against what they're doing, then that'll bring change.
Absolutely.
Because social media spreads everything so quickly that if I pick up on something that could potentially make me money and it's, the wrong way of doing things, and then now 1,000 or 2,000 people are doing that thing, it's going to come to light pretty fast.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? As opposed to kind of keeping it quiet and doing it your own way. So,
yeah.
Yep. So the answer to the question is the sellers typically pay. And no, there is no set cost for a real estate agent. Maybe if there was, then people couldn't, Yeah. I think that
I think everybody's situation is very unique, as far
or there
as...
should be like a max. What you think?
Yeah.
I think there should be like a max.
People are going to manipulate that too. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like sometimes they don't make rules because they know people are just going to, coerce it to, so it's just like, why even have that? You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
Yeah.
So what's coming up for you?
Let me see what we got. Oh, today my kids are out of school. They had like it's like a teacher retreat, they said. So,
teacher retreat.
Yeah, right. They had a teacher retreat, so they didn't have school today. So we're actually checking out the new Paw Patrol movie. My kids love Paw Patrol. Even last year for Halloween, my daughter dressed up as Sky and my son dressed up as Chase. Okay. I'm pretty sure most parents out there who have kids maybe in the range of like 2 to like 8 probably have heard of the show Paw Patrol at one point or another.
Oh, yeah.
So they're really excited. The movie comes out today.
Came out last night.
Or last night. Yeah. So, they're excited to see that. So we're going to go check that out around lunchtime. So definitely looking forward to that. And then this week.
I love the movie. What movie theater y'all going to?
We always go to Cinema Cafe. I think we talked about that. Cinema Cafe on
In Edinburgh?
Edinburgh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Man, listen, those chicken strips there,
Yeah, that's what I had last time. Yeah, I typically get the nachos when I go there.
Oh, I like nachos too.
But I think last time, because we seen the Ninja Turtle movie that came out, which actually
they got
really,
a platter,
really
don't they? They have like this thing where it's like 4 or 5 different things on it, right?
Yeah,
I get that sometimes because one of my kids like mozzarella sticks. I hate those.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of them like the pretzel bites. Don't like those. But then you can get the nachos and it's a chicken.
Yeah. That's right. So yeah, we've had that before. I mean, I think last time I got the chicken tenders and they were really, really good too. But this time I think I'm feeling a little nacho-y. So nacho-y. Yeah.
You want to know what's funny? Fun fact about me. When I go to the movie theater, I never order popcorn. Never.
Interesting.
Never.
So for me, I like popcorn, but I'm not a person that likes it like that. But my kids love it, and Brooke likes it. So I mean, every time we go, we get popcorn, and it just kind of gets passed around. And normally Brooke and the kids, they're the ones that hold it and have it for the longest. I normally kind of just get a little bit, just to kind of have some or whatever. But I'm not a huge popcorn. Actually, it's funny. I seen
my son loves it.
He loves popcorn. I seen.
He's like, can we get popcorn? And they got like the little kitty thing that comes with the fruit snack.
Yep.
And he's a fruit snack kid, so he's like, can I get the popcorn with the fruit snack?
I seen this was when was it? This was it was on Instagram, man. Maybe a week or so ago, not even that long ago. I seen they were showing like how they call them hacks, where you can like I guess do things to try to like really maximize a situation. Like I've seen like Chick-fil-A hacks where you can like instead of buying a Chick-fil-A sandwich, you can buy like the chicken tenders and then ask for like 3 pieces of buns, and then you end up getting 3 chicken sandwiches versus like 1 and stuff. Like it's just different hacks you can do or whatever, right?
Listen, send me those because I lit.
I mean, you can probably look on Instagram. They say they're like hacks. Brooke, she's into that. There's even like Starbucks hacks where you can order like a.
Now I have seen that where if you get a tall with no ice and then you pour it into a large, that it's technically the same amount of fluid.
Correct.
Yeah, I've seen that, but I've never seen anything about Chick-fil-A. But my kids love Chick-fil-A, so I'm like, I need that hack.
Yeah, you might want to look at YouTube. I think it's on YouTube or Instagram or something. I don't know how you find it, but it just came across my timeline. But anyway, I seen a person who had a hack where they, I don't even really consider this a hack for real, but it was just kind of funny where they had popcorn and they took the straw, and it wasn't the same straw they were drinking the soda from, but they just took, how you can get your straws at your own leisure. They took a straw and they hooked it up to like the butter machine. And so they put butter, because they were saying like, butter never gets down to the bottom. So when you get down to the bottom of the popcorn, it doesn't have butter on it. So what they did was they put butter, like your normal thing where you hit the, push the butter thing or whatever, and it has the liquid butter that comes out. So it was on the top of the popcorn. Then they stuck like a straw and put it on the same butter machine, and then they were doing it. And so the butter went through the straw and got on the bottom of the popcorn as well. So,
dang.
Yeah, so that was like they were like, that's a hack of being able to try to get butter. So you have a buttery experience the whole time.
I haven't gotten, so, okay, let me get this right. Because I've only been to, like, in the last, like, since I lived here, I have not gone to a regular movie theater. Well, actually, no, I think I went to MacArthur, their movie theater, once. For my daughter wanted to go see, I think it was a Marvel movie. She had a friend date with her homegirl, and then me and the mom went too. We sat next to each other, and then they sat somewhere else in the theater. Okay. But me and my daughter, we ate in the food court beforehand. So I told you I don't really get popcorn. So when we got to movie theater, I think I got some candy, and then we walked in. So seeing the whole butter thing, is it still like the same where you go and like they got like the butter and that's crazy. You would think that like it would be different now. Yeah. Like the way things are nowadays, it's still that. And then when we go to like Cinema Cafe, that's usually where I go, they bring it to you. So you don't even put your own butter on there for real. But I didn't know that they still did it the old school way. That's crazy. I remember back in the day when I was in high school, they had the different like seasoning. Like back then you had the cheddar seasoning and, all the different ones. And then you had your butter and stuff. So, oh my gosh. Well, that's how much I don't eat popcorn, y'all. Not in the theater. Like at home, maybe once a year, I might have me some popcorn, but I'm not a popcorn person.
Yeah, no, I got it. I got you.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
I might have to look into that and see. I don't know. I know this weekend, my really good girlfriend, her husband is having a surprise birthday party up in Richmond.
Okay.
And so we're going up there for that particular surprise party. So that we'll be doing that on Saturday, and then I'm coming right back. I'm not going to stay up there in Richmond. And then Sunday we may check out another college volleyball game. But outside of that, I don't know. I might have to look into some tickets for Paw Patrol. I'm pretty sure Carter and Jada would love that.
So I guess question, volley. I know you said the game you went to last week was on Sunday. Is that like typically where the days they play? I guess what you're seeing, or on Sundays? I didn't know they had like sports on, like, like for college anyway on Sundays. I always thought like that was like
listen. I'm just last week was my first week, so
okay.
we that's what I know so far.
Okay.
I don't know the past, I don't know the future, but I know that last week it was on Sunday, and I think they're playing this Sunday. But I feel like they've had because I remember I was supposed to be going to the Battle of the Bay, and Norfolk was supposed to play Hampton. I think it was like on a Monday night, so I don't think that.
Yeah, I was just talking about the Sunday.
Days.
Yeah, I was just talking about. I didn't really recall.
I never.
Being played on college sports anyway, playing on Sunday. That's all. Yeah, I've seen it Monday through Saturday, all throughout the week, whatever. But Sundays normally I've seen a day, a day off or whatever.
Last week it was on a Sunday that we went. So yeah, cool. Maybe it's something new. I don't know.
Cool.
Well, we always like to leave you guys on a positive note, and so you want to do the honors of the quote of the day?
Yeah, I'll do it. So, like Sophia just said, we always try to leave you with some positivity, some good words, just to kind of carry on for your day. So the quote of the day today is, "Do not be a product of your circumstance, be a product of your decisions."
Yep.
So, obviously, making decisions, making wise decisions, always thinking about how your decisions affect you now and also long term, and make sure that you make those wise decisions, so you can have a promising future.
Mm-hmm.
And not,
life is always about decisions. It's not about, what opportunity you had in your past. It's about the decisions that you make moving forward.
Yeah, and then just honestly, sometimes everybody has different circumstances that they're grown in, that they're currently in, but you can always, if you make the, smart decisions, sound decisions, based on your goals and your beliefs, you can always be a product of those decisions and reach those goals, and not, falling victim to just your circumstance. So
that is correct.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So you can follow me on IG and Facebook. My social media is SKB_mortgage. Oh my God. I couldn't get through that. Yeah. SKB_mortgage.
Yeah, but mine is Bryan, BRYAN _Royster, ROYSTER.
Well, that's it for today, guys. Thank you for listening to our podcast, and we will see you next week.
See you next week.